Hello and welcome in.
Please do not leave your luggage unattended on the station.
Welcome to the show.
Johnny Gaudreau.
We're live.
Hello, we are live, everybody. Welcome. We have this is a different setup than what we're used to. We have obviously Guerilla Sports Daily every day. Either it's Jesse or it's myself or it's Jay, sometimes in rotation. But today we have a little bit of a heartbreaking start to our Guerilla Sports Daily today. And I felt like it was very appropriate to have Jesse on here. He is, as you guys know, our hockey expert here at Guerilla Sports. Very tragic news breaking this morning about NHL. What's his position?
He's a winger. He's a forward.
Okay. Very, very notable name, Johnny Gaudreau. If you guys are NHL fans, then you know this name. Heartbreaking, devastating news as of this morning that he tragically passed away.
Yep.
Last night, him and his brother were biking and they were struck by a drunk driver. The story, as you learn more details and information, it gets more and more heartbreaking, as if it wasn't heartbreaking enough. But wanted to bring Jesse on to kind of talk about not only his impact in the league, who he was as a teammate, as a family member.
Mm-hmm.
This was actually his sister's wedding weekend. So the devastation that I'm sure this entire family feels is something that I hope I never have to feel. But Jesse, I'll let you kind of just talk a little bit about who he was as a player and just the situation as a whole.
Yeah, so I want to start with something that you mentioned. Well, I want to first start by sending not only but everyone who's in this building our heartfelt, unwavering condolences and support to the Gaudreau family for what I get. Like you said, I can't even imagine. I hope nobody ever has to go through what the Gaudreau family, and I'm not just talking about like one single household. I'm talking about a large family who had their lives absolutely torn apart last night. So that's where I want to start. But like you said, it seems like with every new detail, this gets a little bit more devastating.
Yeah.
Johnny Gaudreau and his brother Matthew, who was also a former hockey player, were back in Pennsylvania, where they're from, for their sister's wedding, which was actually supposed to take place tonight. The Gaudreau brothers were supposed to be groomsmen for, and right now the reports are, and we do have to say, these are the reports right now. This is still an ongoing investigation with still new details unfolding. But right now the information is that Johnny and Matthew left their house last night on bicycles. Not sure where they were going. That hasn't been reported. But they were riding their bikes in the shoulder of a rural 2-lane road. And right now the reports is that a drunk driver, Sean Higgins, 43 years old, attempted to make an illegal pass on the shoulder after a couple vehicles ahead of him had swung out to the middle to avoid the cyclists. Reports are that Sean Higgins, again, the alleged drunk driver, then went to pass them illegally in the shoulder, which is where he struck both Johnny and his brother Matthew, killing them both with the injuries they received. Johnny Gaudreau was just 31 years old. His brother Matthew was 29. Johnny has a wife. He's got kids. Young kids. And I mean, was in the prime of not only his hockey career, but his life at just 31 years old. I mean, this is... I started seeing rumors swirling around last night.
Yeah, you said that.
And nothing was confirmed. It was all unverified. Reports are this, reports are that. And Liv, it was one of those things that was so shocking that my first thought was, there's no way. There's just no way that that's true. I don't remember the last time, thankfully, I don't remember the last time that we had an athlete in any sport that was, at the height of their powers, the player that Johnny Gaudreau was, have their life taken like this, so unexpectedly, so shockingly. Johnny Gaudreau was an outstanding hockey player, all-American type, grew up playing in the Northeast, was a standout player at Boston College, 2-time Hobey Baker Award finalist, a winner one time. That's college hockey's version of the Heisman Trophy.
Amazing. Thank you for translating the hockey
yes,
stuff.
I got
I'm like,
you. I got
what does
you.
that
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah. It's their version of the Heisman.
Amazing.
His
Okay.
first year in the NHL, he was a Rookie of the Year finalist. And more importantly than what he accomplished, I mean, 100-point season, 99-point season. I mean, he was an outstanding player, but even more than that are the stories that you hear from people about what he was like in the locker room, off the ice. He played in Calgary for the Flames. He played a lot for Team USA throughout his career, was playing in Columbus. And this is someone who, the stories are just pouring out today of everyone who knew him. And one of the things that I think struck me the most was that people were saying this was a guy who, especially in that Northeast region where he was from, any charity game, any fundraiser, any donation that he could be a part of, Johnny Gaudreau went out of his way to make sure that he was giving back to the community that he always talked about, gave so much to him. And I mean, Liv, it's devastating. I don't know if I have enough adjectives to describe what this situation is.
I think that I can still vividly remember where I was when I found out about Kobe Bryant.
Yes.
And he wasn't even in the peak of his career per se, but he had already accomplished so much. And he was this thriving girl dad. He finally had time away from his sport to be able to be involved in his family. And I for some reason, I think because you were mentioning that when the reports were kind of trickling in last night, you didn't want to believe them. And I genuinely think as sports fans and lovers of the game, we really feel like these athletes are invincible.
100%.
Like they're untouchable. Like there's nothing, the worst thing that could happen to them is something that could happen on the ice or on the court. You view them in such a heroic way because you grow up watching them. For us, we work. This is what we do full time. So we study their game. We watch them. We support them. I just think that there's so much about it that I remember that exact same feeling with Kobe was like, this can't be true. There's no way someone like Kobe Bryant could pass away in such a tragic way. And it just shows you that they, as much as we view them in such a heroic way and hold them to the highest standard because we truly idolize them as athletes and as people, they are still people. And life is still can be unbelievably tragic like it is right now, and very unforgiving. And so it's devastating. It's one of those stories where we're not going to be able to truly do justice by him in talking about him right now because the impact that he had goes far beyond
on the ice,
his game and being on the ice. Like Jesse said, he's got young kids and a wife, and it was his sister's, what was supposed to be his sister's greatest weekend of her life has now become probably the most devastating. So there's nothing that I can do besides send prayers and well wishes. But you actually just showed me a clip that was posted yesterday of a new team member.
A new team member in Columbus, but this is someone who
old friend
came into the league with Johnny Gaudreau around the same time. It's a short clip. This is Sean Monahan on the All City What Chaos podcast that came out yesterday morning.
Johnny's one of my best friends, and I think to go full circle, kind of start when I was 18, 19 with him, and come back to be able to play with him again is pretty cool. And we both have sons that are, I think, 2 or 3 months apart, so they get to kind of grow up together.
It's like I said, that's an interview that was posted yesterday morning. It kind of just goes back to what we were saying, that every new detail makes it that much more devastating. Again, this is a guy who was not only an outstanding hockey player, but just beloved by the people around him. This is someone who in recent years had gone through some on-ice struggles, right? So he left Calgary. It was a big deal. He walked as a free agent. We don't see that a lot in the NHL. Big name players, they usually stick to the teams they're drafted to and things like that. So it was a big deal. Well, he went to Columbus and things didn't go great for him that first year, and he faced a lot of scrutiny on the ice, and he handled it better than anybody. And his nickname was Johnny Hockey. All he wanted to do was play hockey. He showed up to the rink every day, despite all the outside noise, and great attitude, great person, just someone that people love to be around, and continue to be an outstanding hockey player every single night. It's beyond devastating. I really don't. We're sitting here talking about it, and I still don't fully believe it.
It may take a minute.
Because like you said, these pro athletes are giants to the rest of us.
They are. They are like, seriously, they feel like superheroes. Honestly.
And to your point, they feel untouchable. And yeah, the only thing that you think about with them was like, oh man, I hope it doesn't get injured this year. And then the other layer to this, Liv, is NHL training camps open in 2 weeks. This was supposed to be Johnny Gaudreau's last weekend going home, going to spend the weekend with the family, sister's getting married, and then likely it would have been Monday or Tuesday. He would have been heading to Columbus to start getting on the ice and start getting back around the facilities. The Avs home opener is against the Columbus Blue Jackets on October 11th.
And that's just it too. We're obviously, there's going to be a large group of people from the NHL community, as well as his family, his friends, that grieve this right now because it is fresh. We're just now finding out about it, but the grieving process is going to continue. At the first home game for Columbus against the Avs in the season opener.
Every building they go into for the first time.
Every building that they go into, every game that they play where he's not there is going to be it's going to ignite, reopen wounds, reignite emotions and the grieving process. And so this is not something that I think people will be able to get over by any means anytime soon, if ever. When you have a player of this caliber, not just of the caliber in terms of their talent, but also the impact.
The caliber of the human.
Exactly. The caliber of the human. You talk about the impact that he had, it sounds like, on his team. He's got old friends that are like, our kids are going to grow up together.
Right. I mean, Sean Monahan, I would not be surprised at all if one of the primary driving forces behind him signing with Columbus this summer was reuniting with Johnny Gaudreau. He's that type of person that people just want to be around. And to your point, I just got a tweet this morning. So the Columbus Blue Jackets have changed a lot of their social stuff to just a black and white number 13. And I got a tweet this morning from an Avs fan saying, hey, I'd love to see the Avs community. Because I don't know if you remember a couple of years ago when Nazem Kadri was facing a lot of racist hate, the Avs community really gathered around, and there's a sign that said, I stand with Naz, that felt like all 18,000 people in the arena had.
I love that.
And this was someone saying, the Avs' first home game is against Columbus Blue Jackets. We should do the same thing with this number 13. I'm hugely in support of that. Myself personally, us here at Guerilla Sports are going to do everything we can to make sure that
Absolutely.
At that first home game, we can do what we can to help the city of Denver and Avalanche fans honor Johnny Gaudreau and everything that Columbus Blue Jackets are going through. I'm sure the Blue Jackets will have his number on the ice. I'm sure on their helmets, their jerseys. And this is a guy that deserves every bit of love that he's getting today. He's an outstanding human, and talk about a life cut too short. I mean, way, 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 way too short.
And it does feel like it happens that way often, where the people that are so great and loved by many and do all the right things in life and lead by example and love unconditionally, just the greatest human beings ever, get taken too quickly. And that is just how life unfortunately unfolds sometimes. I do think that in moments like this, from a bigger picture perspective, in the world of sports, we talk trash, we get at each other's throats. We're seeing people fighting, in arenas and stadiums already in the NFL in preseason games, where we're seeing people swing on each other. But I think in moments like this, you really do realize the importance of sports and the just how big these communities are and how deeply they run. And so I think it's important in moments like this that we just remember why we love sports, why we love these players, why we love these teams. And it's super important in moments like this to just come together and show support. It's
the togetherness side of sports that, in spite of what you're talking about with the fighting and the disagreement, it's supposed to be the unifying factor of sports. We're all here because we love this.
Of course.
And the other thing to me that, as you were talking there, that comes to mind is, not only have we lost someone way, way, way too soon, but in such an unbelievably senseless way.
Yes.
In a way that's maybe the most heartbreaking and the most unexpected, because this wasn't like, he was secretly fighting an illness that people didn't know about, or
right.
It was a condition he had that maybe they didn't fully understand. And, it's still shocking and all that. But, that's something that your brain can cope with a little bit more of.
It does, yeah.
It's something that no one could do anything about. To have it happen like this,
preventable.
It's unbelievably preventable. And you are as sad and heartbroken and all that. You're angry.
Very.
that something like this could happen and a family could have their lives as torn apart as what's happening right now at the Gaudreau house because of someone's idiotic decision.
Mm-hmm. I do. I think that we see this unfortunately way too much where in this particular situation, in a drunk driving situation, typically the drunk driver walks away without a cut, a scrape, or a bruise. And that unfortunately is the way that we see this happen a lot. I feel like I shouldn't have to say this, but please don't get behind the wheel under the influence of anything. Life is too short. It's not worth it. I know someone very close to me personally that had to spend time in prison because he had a very similar situation happen where he was under the influence and he took 2 lives in a car accident, and it's just not worth it. I'm sure if he could go back to that day and call the Uber, he would without a second thought. These things happen so fast and it's just not worth it. It's devastating. Again, there's sometimes times where when these things happen, I feel like I just want to sit in silence because your brain goes to so, like you said, anger, sadness. But then you also think about, it makes you sit and think about this individual and all that they accomplished in their career and who they were as people. And then you have that feeling of peace of, whatever belief you believe in that is going to help you get through this. I think where I go often is, somebody upstairs needed him more than we did, which is, again, hard to even fathom because of the impact that Johnny had on so many people. But you, again, not telling you what to believe in or how to feel about it, but I definitely think that in moments like this, I really do have to tap into my higher power, because if I don't, I'll never understand it. There really is no way to comprehend that someone this great, forget the fact that he played hockey and was really great at his sport. Somebody this great as a human being could be ripped away in such a senseless way, so tragically, and it's just horrible all around. And I am deeply praying for his family as a whole. His sister, who, like I said, was supposed to be the most special weekend of her life, has now become the most devastating, and she will forever remember this weekend, not for the reason it was initially going to be, remembered. So I just send my deepest condolences to the NHL community, his teammates, his family, his friends. And again, this is a tough one, but also the family and friends of the driver that took life. There's just so many aspects of it that are devastating.
Well, and we've mentioned his brother, but we haven't, his brother, as much as we're talking about Johnny Gaudreau, his brother had, equal impacts on the people around him. He former pro player, semi-professional player, maybe didn't have the same career as Johnny Gaudreau, but an equal amount of just outpouring of love for Matthew as well. And, you mentioned the drunk driver walking away without scrapes and bruises. Right now, the reports are he is in custody, awaiting a blood toxicology report to verify that he was, in fact, under the influence. We'll probably get those results back sometime tonight. But I mean, what difference does it make, right? Lives were still lost, lives are still ruined. But and this will be the last thing, from me. But this is maybe the worst, or maybe not the worst, but the hardest part, I think, for me to wrap my head around. And my family lost someone earlier this year, and you think about these kind of things. The hardest part about it, Liv, is like, you get online today, and this is an unimaginable, horrible tragedy, and you just see that life keeps moving. You have to find a way to move forward, and there's still other things that are happening today. There's still different things going on in the world.
His wife still has to take care of the kids. I mean, it's going to have to just keep.
And that part is maybe the hardest to wrap your head around. Is like, okay, how do you pick yourself up and just keep moving? We'll all figure out a way to do that, and you pray that his family can find the strength to keep moving forward as well. But I know you got a few other things that you'll talk about here to wrap out the show today.
I don't even know. It feels like it's not even, you can't even, but to your point, it does keep moving. There's life continues to go on no matter how devastating this may be. I have no doubt in my mind that the NHL won't be in the most support of his family in whatever that they need in terms of whether it be financially, emotionally, physically, just being there. I think that the NHL, as far as I know, the
hockey community is going to be in their corner.
And I am not super into the hockey community, hence why Jesse being on was very important this morning. But from what I have seen, the hockey community is just as tight knit as any other, maybe even more so.
The
truly.
front of Nationwide Arena is already filled with sticks and flowers out front of the arena. There was they put up big banners in loving memory of Johnny Gaudreau, and his face is plastered huge on the outside of Nationwide Arena. So fans, the hockey community are already, I mean, pouring into downtown Columbus and laying flowers and hockey sticks and candles out front of the arena. So the hockey community, this is where they show their strength. And it's a community that I love because of what you're talking about, that they are in. If you're in the hockey community, the rest of that community is in your corner.
Well, at this time, I think it's only appropriate to give a moment of silence to the Gaudreau brothers, family, friends, the community as a whole, in honor of Johnny Hockey and his brother, who, like I said, tragically passed away. So we are sending our deepest condolences. Everybody in the studio, I think we can speak for. It does, in moments like this, it does feel like there's just a dark cloud on the day. And I think it'll probably feel that way for some time now. So please don't hesitate to, reach out if you just need someone to talk to. These truly athletes, for some people, save lives. They're people that they idolize and love. So don't be afraid to, like I said, I will be tapping into my higher power. That's the only way that I can get through stuff like this, because again, knowing that him and his brother are resting peacefully, that's the only thing that's going to get me through this. But we'll take a moment of silence here. Jesse, thank you so much for joining me and speaking on this, because these are very, very difficult things to talk about. So at this time, we'll take a moment of silence. Rest in peace to both Gaudreau brothers. We're praying for everybody that has been affected by this. And after we have a moment of silence, we'll get into some other stuff. We won't spend too much time on it because this is definitely the most important thing. So Jesse, thank you for being here.
Thanks,
and
Liv.
At this time, we'll take a moment of silence to honor both Gaudreau brothers. To that, again, having Jesse on was very, very important this morning. My producer Jay, who's on the board, was like, I think Jesse can hop on today. We can talk about this a little bit. Again, I know NHL enough to know, how the game works, but this is something that you just want to make sure that you do right by Johnny Hockey and his brother. And I can't speak on his career as well as Jesse can. So having Jesse as a part of it was very important to me. So thank you guys for sticking around. And like I said, praying for every person that feels affected by this today, because it's devastating all around. We've got a couple of stories today. I don't want to spend too much time on this because, like I said, I think the really important story is the one that we just began the show with. We've talked a little bit while being on the Guerilla Sports Daily, even just with myself, about NIL deals. We know that in the world of college, with these student athletes, that NIL has pretty much taken over. Every athlete at Ohio State has been announced, scholarship and walk-on, will receive a customized Chipotle card, granting them a free entree per week for the entire season as a part of an NIL deal. So again, we're starting to see now businesses and franchises getting behind NIL deals and helping out these student athletes. Free entree per week. I would go through that probably first thing Monday at whatever time they open, 11 a.m. because I love Chipotle. But we're seeing some brand deals already. We're seeing, I think I spoke a couple weeks ago about Angel Reese getting a deal with Reese's. So we're seeing now franchises and businesses getting behind NIL deals, which is cool for these athletes. I know that when I was at TCU on the dance team there, we had access to the dining hall that the athletes had, but we weren't getting customized Chipotle cards. So it's definitely been interesting to see how the NIL deals have evolved and will probably continue to evolve. There are 4 college football programs, Power 4 college football programs, will pay out $35 million plus to opponents this weekend. Western Kentucky is getting the biggest check, $1.9 million from Alabama. Listen, if you told me, hey, we'll pay you $1.9 million, we'll probably whoop you like big time. It'll be a bloodbath for you, but we will pay you $1.9 million. sign me up. Sign me up. Here I come, Alabama. We're playing week 1. If you guys have not been keeping up on all things college football, I think the most relevant college football news for today is that CU beat North Dakota State. Coach Prime is back under the spotlight. People are very excited. So in the world of talking about college football, felt appropriate to bring up the fact that Shedeur Sanders just might be a Dallas Cowboy next year. No, I'm kidding. I do think he will be a high draft pick this upcoming year. It'll be very interesting to see. I know we've seen some reports, not sure how true they are, not sure how much validity they have, but Coach Prime pretty particular about where Shedeur plays. We know that Coach Prime does have a very large impact on media, on I'm sure the world of both NFL and college football. We know Coach Prime is a very notable name. If you don't know that name, you might be living under a rock. But Coach Prime and the CU Buffs got a win against North Dakota State. If you're a sports bettor, though, and you took North Dakota State to cover +10, you made some money. CU was not able to blow out this, what most people would consider a cupcake team. They are a team from the FCS. It wasn't a blowout at all, actually. North Dakota State looked pretty good. I think that they are not a cupcake team, and I'm sure CU knows that. I think there were reports that Coach Prime said if he had to pick a week 1 opponent, it would not have been North Dakota State. But congratulations to the Buffaloes for getting the dub. Shedeur Sanders looking incredible. Travis Hunter playing on almost every play because he is both offense and defense. There is so much talent on that roster. It will be very, very exciting to see that see this team unfold this year. Obviously, they're now a part of the Big 12. North Dakota State is not the same caliber team as some of the teams they will have to face in the Big 12. So it will be very interesting to see how their season unfolds. But nonetheless, congratulations to the Buffs. Tom Brady wants a stake in the Raiders, okay? Which is very interesting because I did just recently see a story. Tom Brady throwing the football, working with some receivers. And there were reports, maybe he comes out of retirement. I don't think he does, as much as I would love it. We've seen Tom Brady share some pretty strong opinions about the trajectory of the league and where he thinks the league is heading and where he thinks the talent of the quarterbacks range now compared to when he was playing the game. He's definitely strongly opinionated, and he should be. He is the GOAT of the NFL in terms of being a quarterback. Patrick Mahomes might be on his tail here pretty soon if he isn't already, but Tom Brady, we know, is one of the best to do it. He wants a stake in the Raiders, but he, unfortunately, could face huge restrictions with his new job at Fox. As an owner, he could be barred from basic analyst duties like attending production meetings with coaches and players or watching practices. So if he does have a stake in the Raiders, may conflict with his new job with Fox. It'll be interesting to see how that unfolds. Would you guys rather see Tom Brady as an owner in the NFL, or would you rather see him on our TVs delivering us all his analytical information on the game that we're watching? I'd love to know your thoughts on that. The NBA is currently assembling a team to oversee the rollout of automated officiating. If you guys were with me on Wednesday, I actually talked a little bit about a similar situation with the NFL. They were kind of testing out what would it look like if the robots took over here in the NFL, and they ultimately decided, no, let's stick with the referees. They can be the ones that are moving the chain and deciding first down or not. But now we've got the NBA having conversations. The league's recent job postings want positions to develop systems that will impact every game of the NBA season. Maybe they are sick of hearing about how bad the NBA officiating is. If you are an NBA fan, you know it's been bad for forever, it feels like. And I'm not sure what the solution is because it is ultimately a subjective job. We're depending on these referees' eyeballs. We at home on our couch get to watch the play in slow motion, get to watch them break it down. They too have that power if they review the play, but if they don't, it's their naked eye versus the whistle. And if they blow the whistle, it typically sticks. So the job description includes develop and deploy automated officiating capabilities, like I said, to impact every game of the NBA season. So it'll be interesting to see. I give it maybe 5 years. 5 years, robots are taking over. If you guys weren't with me on Wednesday, I talked a little bit about BK, my co-host for Off Field, said, give it a decade, robots are going to start killing humans. And I was like, you're insane. But now we're starting to see robots taking over all of our jobs. I saw a clip of a robot waitress that was delivering food. It rolled out. It had all the plates on there. It was pushing the plates out to the table. I mean, we are truly maybe about to have flying cars soon. Technology is taking over. We know this. I will tell you one thing about Liv Moods, though. I will be damned if you catch me in one of those self-driving vehicles. I don't care. Technology, yes, is probably way smarter than most humans, but I'm not getting in a car where there is no one behind the wheel. I'm sorry, it's just not for me. If it's for you, great, congrats. It's not for me. And finally, my last little story here is that Kansas's David Booth Memorial Stadium is undergoing a $448 million in renovations. So for the time being, the Kansas Jayhawks are playing their Big 12 home games at Arrowhead Stadium. How cool is that to be on the Jayhawks football team, which I will remind you, the Jayhawks used to be horrible at football. They have now climbed the rankings in the Big 12. They have been a force to be reckoned with over the last 2 seasons. But for the longest time, they were a basketball school and nothing more. But they are definitely growing. And how cool to be able to play in the same stadium that the Patrick Mahomes, the Travis Kelce, the back-to-back Super Bowl champs get to play in every Sunday. Non-conference games for the Kansas Jayhawks are at Sporting KC's Children's Mercy Park. So while they're getting those $448 million in renovations, they have the honor of playing in the Arrowhead Stadium, which I think is absolutely awesome. So that is all I've got for you today. Like I said, really wanted to spend most of today talking about Johnny Hockey and his brother who tragically passed. Thank you so much, Jesse, who joined me today to speak on who this person was as an athlete, the impact that he had on the hockey community, his time with the different teams. Again, not just a great hockey player, and I know that's how most of us know him, but he was also a husband, a father, a son, a brother, a friend to many. So very, very tough show today. Like I said, we are sending our best wishes and prayers to anybody affected by the passing of Johnny Gaudreau. A very tough conversation to have, but one we needed to have today for sure. So I appreciate you guys so much for being here. Thank you for joining me. This has been another Guerilla Sports Daily. Please have a happy and safe Friday to the best of your abilities. Send a prayer over to this family as they mourn this loss, this very, very devastating loss. And we will be back again next week, starting Monday morning for some more Guerilla Sports Daily, all things sports. Make sure you guys are following us on all things socials. Subscribe to our YouTube. We've got content 7 days a week. We're covering the NHL, the NBA, the NFL. Later today, we will have an off-field show I will be hosting with Nate Jackson and BK. We'll talk about some new developments over with the Denver Broncos. So make sure you're tuning into that. Thank you guys so much for being here and have a wonderful weekend. Bye.